Welcome to another amazing Wellness Warriors podcast. I'm Dr. Veronique Desaulniers, better known as Dr. V. Today I have a wonderful couple that I met at a conference. I've got Tamara and David here, who are international best-selling authors, and their book is called Live Calm with Cancer and Beyond. But what really attracted me to them was their meditation app called Loving Meditations. It's the only mindfulness app specifically designed for those living with cancer. Now, it's not only for those with cancer, but it's also for those that are taking care of people with cancer. So thank you so much for taking the time to join me today. You've got an amazing story that I'd like for you to share. As you know, our listeners are all about preventing and healing cancer naturally. So I'll start with David. You are a survivor of stage 4 cancer, and let me add also a 2-time Grammy-nominated engineer and composer. So that's where I think the meditation app and the music and your expertise really comes into play. And I don't want to leave Tamara out because I know you've got some special talents as well. So Elle magazine called you the soul-centered psychotherapist and meditation facilitator. So bring those two things together and you've got an amazing app and story to tell our audience. So David, let's start with you. What happened? We have pain in our life and it becomes our purpose. So tell me what happened with you.
Absolutely. Well, in my case, it started with a haircut. And I had no pain and no symptoms. I was walking around with a lump in my neck that my barber noticed as he cut my hair. And when he pointed it out, it was shocking to even realize that this mass was there. And obviously, I needed to see the doctor. So that led to a series of tests, diagnostic procedures, which ended in the 6 words that it's life-changing, and that's you have stage 4 cancer. And in that moment, we went numb. We had mental chaos, just like, what?
What a shock.
Yeah, and everything became about the cancer, and life itself went on hold, and we had to make lots of quick changes, and it took probably 2 weeks to just come down to earth and come to grips with what it really was about, and what practical ways can we approach this that are going to get us through with the most ease and grace. And I was so fortunate to have this amazing person by my side through it, who she stepped up and became just a loving force and an amazing caregiver. And that really played a huge role, not only emotionally, but also physically, in that the treatment I had made it really difficult to eat and painful to swallow. And typically people need to get feeding tubes and sometimes hospitalization because of the body's not getting enough calories and nutrition. But Tamara figured out ways that I could drink a shake through a straw and other cool stuff that really helped me through it, to stay as healthy as I could with the treatment that I was receiving.
Awesome. And so Tamara, on your side of the story, what was it like to see, your husband receive that diagnosis and, watch him go through all the, very painful treatments?
Yeah. And I want to add that 4 days before David got his cancer diagnosis, our son, at the time he was 13, got a Lyme disease diagnosis as well. So there was a lot going on all at once.
Yeah. Wow.
So like David said, I was really pretty overwhelmed and in shock and not sleeping, and kind of throwing my own sort of mindfulness practice right out the window because I was just so consumed about my 2 guys, and I was the only other person in the household keeping down the fort. But at some point, because I'm a psychotherapist, and I asked myself, what would you tell, Tamara, what would you tell a client if they came to you saying, I'm freaking out, I can't sleep, everything's going wrong, what should I do? I would tell them to, do some deep breathing or get that journal out and start. There's always something to be grateful for. Start writing what you're grateful for. And as soon as I got that, I kind of came back to my practice that has worked so well throughout the years. And I just got this knowingness, this calmness and this knowingness that regardless of the outcome, regardless of what happens on this journey, it's going to be okay. And I'm just going to know what to do. And in those moments when they came up, when, David was really in tremendous agony, going through the awful treatment that he went through, those were the moments that I just got so grounded and so centered and just kind of knew exactly what to do, even though I had no idea 30 seconds prior to that. So it was just that presence really made all the difference.
That's very amazing. Now, mindfulness has kind of become the, cliche word that everybody uses. So from, your perspective, what exactly does mindfulness mean when somebody is on a healing journey? So we'll start with Tamara and then we'll ask David the same question.
What I learned from this, doing mindfulness and not really realizing I was even doing mindfulness in this cancer journey, was it really is about presence. It's amazing how presence is so healing. People will say, Tamara, what do I say to somebody who just got diagnosed with stage 4 cancer? And I tell them, just be present with them. Just be with them. Don't be worried about anything. Just be with them. So that's mindful. When you're present with anything, whether it's eating or walking or with another person, that presence is what I think of as mindfulness. Even meditation, it's the same thing.
So present time consciousness. You are there in present time with that person.
You're there 100% with what you're doing with that person. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yep. And how about you, David?
Well, I handed off the medical piece to the doctors. And then it was, okay, what can I do? What's my participation? What power do I have? What choices do I have? And so for me, it was using my time in the chemo infusion center to listen to audio meditations, clearing statements, affirmations. We did we did gratitude walks where even though I couldn't run and work out like I used to, we would at least get moving, to move the body. And we would trade off statements about what we were grateful for in that moment and shift from the negative, the victim state and from this is the worst thing that ever happened to what's actually good right now. Like what's right about this? What's the gift in this? And so 15-minute walk was transformational. Those are a couple of things we did. And I think it's important to remember that the body is an integral part of this whole experience. It's easy to disconnect. I know it was for me to just say, body, you show up for the chemo and radiation, and I'll meet you in 3 months when it's all over. But really to honor the body, to be grateful for what it actually does, but also I had to apologize. I had to ask for forgiveness for whatever I had done to create this cancer, and my body was valiantly accepting the treatment for. So it was, it becomes a dialogue at a certain point. Like we can go deeper and deeper and talk about, what is this symptom and what is this disease telling us or trying to tell us. So tapping into the body was very important for me in terms of presence and being mindful.
I love that you said you had to ask for forgiveness from your body because, you basically allowed the cancer to develop. So what was it, do you think, in your lifestyle that allowed cancer to show up in your life?
In my case, it started at the base of the tongue. And so if we make the simple leap to speech and what was I not saying, what was vital for me to say that I wasn't saying, or some of it I think had to do with my tendency to really absorb other people's negative energy and not send it back, or not to protect myself from it. So I've done a few explorations, and they're still ongoing as far as, where this originated. But I think it has something to do with using my voice and speaking my truth.
That's incredible. That's incredible, because we know that our body is an expression of our internal thoughts, right? And for us in our community, breast cancer is related to nurturing or lack of nurturing and loving and, relationships. And when there's issues in those areas of your life, cancer can be a message of love to remind you that, hey, there's things that you need to fix. So, Tamara, what kind of research do we have that shows us that this mindfulness or that meditation can actually have a positive effect on healing or accelerating our healing?
Well, I'm getting the nudge on this one. So
he's a research expert.
Yeah, okay, all right.
We look at the brain and what it's capable of doing. It can process like 1,000 things in a second, which is way more powerful than any supercomputer.
Right.
And so that's a lot of thoughts. And scientists have counted how many thoughts we have. It goes up to 70,000 per day. Mm-hmm. That'll average out to a couple of thousand per hour. And then how many of those are repetitive and how many of those are negative? So meditation and mindfulness, one of the beauties of it is that we start to create some space in between those thoughts, and we start to step back and become the observer of the thoughts, and we can look at them non-judgmentally, like, oh yeah, there's that thought again. Like, I'm very uncomfortable around this person, and it's not good or bad. It's just that thought. It's my discomfort about that person thought. Start to create the space, start to step back and look at it from a observer perspective, rather than being in the washing machine with all this stuff churning around all the time. And then we start to shift a little bit. We can get into the present moment. We can start to realize, it's just a thought, and these things can allow them in and we can allow them out.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Right. That's what I tell myself sometimes, when those thoughts come to your heart and mind, it's just like, okay, thanks for sharing, but I'm just going to leave that alone and not give it a lot of energy and power. So what are some other tips that we can use or have when it comes to mindfulness and meditation?
Yeah, one of the things that we've heard recently in terms of research from a neuroscientist is that they found in their study anyway that a 1-minute meditation, which may be deep breathing or any kind of mindful present activity, is just as powerful and effective as 50 minutes.
Wow.
So, yeah, I mean, he was saying 1 minute each hour for like an 8 hour, 1 minute, per hour is just as effective as 50 minutes.
Wow.
So with that, David and I have had a lot of fun creating 1 minute little exercises, we call them self-care tools. So one of my favorites, I run a lot of groups, for cancer caregivers and survivors, and always start the group off with deep breathing. And I'm sure, many people out there have heard of diaphragmatic breathing, but when you open your diaphragm, you're helping to trigger the vagus nerve, which then releases that parasympathetic system, which, releases the happy, feel-good hormones. Mm-hmm. So we could, even right now, just do 3 diaphragmatic breaths, and we're going to just get into that nice frame. So cool. You just breathe in through your nose and relax your belly and open the diaphragm. Exhale and relax into your chair or wherever you are. And then breathe in and open that diaphragm. Exhale and see how deeply you can relax in this moment. And last one, breathe in, opening that soft belly. Exhale, presence, presence, presence. And just after 3 breaths, you just feel that shift. It's so cool.
That's amazing. And so there's no excuse. If you have a minute to spare. Right?
And if you can breathe,
right.
you can meditate.
That's incredible. I love that. 1 minute, just one.
Yeah, we're calling it 1 minute to calm,
Mm-hmm.
and we're releasing a series of quick 1 minute tools that are similar to that one can use driving in traffic or standing online at the pharmacy or waiting for your scan in the waiting room. Just easy stuff to shift, and I think if we do that frequently enough, we can start to carry that forward into the rest of our day.
Love that. So speaking of waiting room, so on your website is calmcancerstress.com. I noticed there was a tab for waiting room, and I love your little video on there, which, shows every time you go to the doctor, what do they have on? The news and the drama and the trauma that's out there. That's the last thing you need, right? And so you've created a series of very calming visual and auditory messages for people to really, when they're in the reception room or waiting room, they can shift their mindset and get calm. So tell us what prompted you to create that.
Exactly that. Waiting in so many waiting rooms for so many hours and being bombarded by talk shows and news shows and game shows. And it became comical after a while. Like, what are they going to put on, and who's in control of this?
Right.
Who's got the clicker? So we actually came to find out that sometimes the people at the desk were in charge of what program was on, and if the doctor said no, put on something more calming, the people would get annoyed and say, no, we're putting back The Price is Right or something. So we decided that we have to do something about it. And so Love and Meditations TV is like it's cinematic images, mostly nature images, and calming, soothing music, and also we call it mindful messaging, but it's interactive to the point where we ask questions sometimes like, name 3 things that you love about yourself. And so someone who's watching can actually just kind of go inside and do a little quick, mental inventory. And we try to bring that into it with some other interesting facts about the body and about nature and the universe, and make it positive and make it inspirational.
I love the puppy one. Did you know that dogs have sweat glands in their paws? I had no idea.
Aren't they adorable, those puppies?
Yeah, that was really, really cute.
Yeah, we were told that patients and their families actually show up early just so they can come and mellow out and have their little meditation time before they have their appointments. So
that's great.
A very nice positive effect.
Well, I hope that really takes off because, it's so needed. I mean, in any doctor's office, dental office, there's no limits to how many people's lives you can touch with that program. Now, you've created something very special for people that are going through a healing journey with cancer, as well as their caregivers. So you've created an app that you can download on your phone and listen to meditations to help support your healing. So tell us about some of the meditations that are on your app and your motivation for creating that.
Yeah, well, it actually began, the original idea of the app began after David finished the treatment of radiation, chemotherapy, and then surgery. He had a follow-up visit, and, I like this doctor. He always included me, the caregiver, and on the meeting, and he said, you had brutal treatment, David, and you guys were always so calm and positive, and you never needed all the things that most people with your kind of cancer have, like the feeding tube and the PICC line, or you didn't get an infection, didn't need hospitalization.
Awesome.
He said, what were you guys doing? So we told him, meditation, mindfulness, gratitude, all those things. And he said, well, I want that for all of my patients.
Oh, wow. That's great that he was open. He was actually open to that. That's awesome.
Yes. And we looked at each other and the light bulb went off. I could see that light bulb on top of his head, and we're like, wow, we've done this before because we had a YouTube channel creating guided meditations for about 7 years prior. We thought, why not? Let's do it specifically for those going through cancer. And that's how Loving Meditations app was born. And we, it's for patients, meditations on pain or discomfort or anxiety or,
sleeplessness,
chemo. And then for the caregiver, I'm very much into helping the caregivers. I know what it's like. I'm running caregiver groups all the time. And, there's a lot of emotion. Caregivers are on their journey too. On the same, it's a different journey, but they're on a journey themselves.
Yes.
And really addressing those issues like guilt or overwhelm or exhaustion, fatigue, anger. There's a lot of that. So these are meditations that we created and continue to create on a monthly basis.
I love the term you use, scanxiety.
Yes.
You can add test anxiety as well, right? Blood test anxiety.
Yes.
Awesome, because it's so true, right? You just like, what are the results going to be like? And you're on pins and needles until you get the results. But it's like we told our clients, it's just a number, it's just a result, and you just have a neutral reaction to it, because no matter what it is, you'll deal with it, right?
Absolutely.
And it's a continuing journey. Even, if we've finished treatment, the doctors want you to keep coming back and keep you monitored. And so there's more blood tests and more scans and more follow-up exams. And so it's a never-ending path to maintaining the wellness part of it. But some of that is stressful. I mean, there's no doubt that the uncertainty is stressful.
It's a lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
Like we tell our clients, it's not just getting rid of the lump or the bump, but it's about a complete transformation of your life, because how you've lived your life to this point has allowed for cancer to show up. And so now it's time to change everything so that you can say, bye-bye, cancer. I don't need you anymore, right?
Yeah. Thank you, but bye-bye.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. Thanks for the message, but yeah, bye-bye.
Exactly.
That's great. So you have a very, very generous gift, and I'm so grateful and so thankful for it. You're going to give a 1 month of premium membership to our listeners, and the discount code will be WW2019 and tap apply. And we'll have all this listed on our show notes so people can go to the proper link. And thank you so much. That's such a generous gift. And I'm really looking forward to diving deep into your meditations and listening to them and sharing them with our community. So thank you for your story. Thank you for doing what you're doing and just really creating such a difference in the world of people who have cancer and people who take care of them. So thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. We are really moved to pay it forward as much as possible.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, so this is Dr. V, and we will see you on the next episode of Wellness Warriors. Bye for now.